Most of the challenges are within me, within the mindset that I had, because I was not challenging myself enough. I didn't want to make wrong moves, and later I found out that all the moves are wrong and right at the same time. So basically, you need to take the most out of every situation so that you can shift the wrong move to become a right move. If you're listening to this and you think, oh, my problem is that there's no investors, investors are working exactly this. They want to put money into good ideas. The bad thing is your idea is not good enough yet. Work on that. Good change or positive change takes time. It's impossible to make radical positive change like that. Only bad things happen like that.
Hi everyone, I'm Ani Filipova, the creator and host of Change is Possible podcast. What do you get if you cross aeronautical engineer and a beekeeper? Well, you get our next guest, Sergey Petrov. Join us as he's going to take us on a very exciting journey from a purely engineering work to tackling one of the biggest threats to our food supply, the extinction of bees. And get ready to get inspired. While you're watching and listening, please subscribe or leave us a comment. Thank you and see you in a second. Hi, Sergey. Great to see you and welcome to my podcast. Thank you for agreeing to be my guest. How are you today?
Thank you for your invitation. I'm doing fantastic. What about yourself?
I'm great. I'm looking forward for this discussion. And let's start this discussion with a little bit about your childhood. What were your dreams as a young adult, and why did you decide to study engineering?
That's putting me way back, but I would say that I became an engineer because of pathology. Both my parents are engineers, and somehow I always knew within me that I'm going to be a technical engineer. Back then, I did not know what that really entails, but it has to do something with understanding how stuff works, fixing stuff, and maybe thinking of other stuff. So that's what I think is the most interesting aspect of life, understanding it and trying to modify everything. So that's what engineers are, tinkerers. And as for my dreams, I really don't know what exactly my dreams were when I was little. I knew that I was dreaming about the Western culture. I was dreaming about being able to explore, to learn, to interact with other human beings. And yeah, that's probably why I wanted to become a pilot at some point in my life, because pilots tend to visit a lot of places, work with a lot of different people.
What was your first job and how did you come about it? Was it something that you were planning to do, or was it something that just happened?
So my first full-time job was exactly when I finished school. So it was one of my classmates who gave me this gig. He said, "Hey, you have a pretty decent English. Do you like to tinker with websites and stuff like that? Are you open to understanding software?" So yeah, of course, I wanted basically to make a little bit of money at that point, because as all the teenagers in Bulgaria at that point, we were hungry for experience. We were hungry for getting new stuff, and probably you kind of get the feeling of the situation in the early 2000s. People were in Bulgaria, people, especially in the middle class, we were struggling. So our parents didn't really give us as many opportunities as we were seeing in the Western world. So naturally, the first job that I had was for the money. But it was such a wonderful experience, because it actually pushed me towards educating myself basically, and really putting myself in a position where I can grow. So I'm extremely fortunate for that. So basically, it was a project engineer. Actually, it was a project uh, manager for website company that built websites for the US.
How many years did you work in that field in engineering? And can you tell us a little bit more about your other engineering work?
So at that point, I was a project manager working mostly during the night because I wanted to attend university during the day. So I was studying aeronautical engineering. Basically, I was really interested into aerospace and everything related to flying machines, space, astronomy, even. So I wanted to become an engineer, but also I wanted to be able to support myself. So I was working during the night for about 4 years, I think that happened. Then I went into change the field with a more regular job. So basically, at that time, I was already finishing university, and I started working as a knowledge engineer. At that time, it was the biggest anti-spam protection company in the world. So yeah, we were on the forefront of stopping unsolicited mail. It was kind of an interesting field back then before Google went into the space and pretty much kicked everybody out. I was also working at Lufthansa for a little bit, trying to understand more about airplanes and maybe find a way to get into the aviation industry. And I'm pretty glad that that didn't really happen because my my path forward from there was pretty interesting. So the most interesting thing about it was I was able to let the software part of engineering interfere with the technical, with the really mechanical engineering, and that led me to very interesting places. So basically, in 2000, maybe 9 or 10, I found out about a program called Space Challenges, and I was completely in love with it because we were able to converse with people from NASA, from European Space Agency, and this was when the video lessons and video conferencing was not that modern. So basically, it was a very interesting time for us. It was such an awe-inspiring. Every lecture was inspiring, and I was so motivated by it that at some point that became my life. When the Space Challenges program ended, me and one of my colleagues from the university, we went to the organizer and said, hey, so we're not going to let this go. We want to know more. We want to interact with the same people more. Let's do something about it. So he basically challenged us and he said, if you can. So he took out an envelope with 500 leva inside and he said, if you are capable of taking a picture of our planet with that budget, I'm going to create a company with you. So basically, we did. We did it for just 500 level. We took a picture of our planet from space, and after that, we formed a company. Currently, that company is called Endurosat, and it's valued at more than 100 million euro. I'm extremely happy that I was there at the inception.
Great. And just to put what 500 level is, to put this in perspective for people who are listening, this is around 250 euros, even less than that at that time. So that was a great thing. So when was that moment when you decided to kind of connect technology and apply it to climate and food problems? When this happened?
It was right around the same time. So basically, I was going to the university. I was working full time, and I was going to this Space Challenges program, which later became another company that we formed. And it was this kind of motivation, this connection with people from NASA, from really the people that kind of you only heard about on National Geographic until then. So I was extremely fortunate to converse with those people and to understand that sky is not the limit really. So at that point, I was thinking maybe I can impact positively the life of people. And this is when it happened. I was really motivated by the Space Challenges program.
So let's go into a little bit into that topic. How did you apply to the Singularity University, and then you work with NASA? Can you tell us a bit about that? What was the experience? What was that impressed you the most? What are the skills and qualities you learned there?
Yeah, certainly. So I applied for Singularity University in 2013. It was this grand concept of uh, getting together people from across the world to fight the biggest challenges that humanity has right now. They had pointed out 8 different challenges like security, water, education, ecosystem. I wanted to be a part of that change. I wanted to be one of the architects of tomorrow, and it seemed like Singularity University was the perfect place to receive that kind of knowledge network and motivation, really, to push. So there was a competition. So they used to have those different competitions around the world, and if you win the competition, you get a full scholarship, which was kind of obligatory for me because I could not afford the program. It costed like 50,000 US dollars at the time or something for just one summer. But I was accepted, and the way I was accepted is because I proposed a smart beehive system that can protect the bees. The way I went there, why I went there, why I thought about bees is because they provoked me to think about the greatest challenges in front of humanity, which are kind of related to the way of life that I live. So basically, I love nature. I love everything about nature. I love the walks. I love the mountains, the views, the air, and everything. So I was thinking if we are currently in the sixth mass extinction of species, and we're doing this because people are wasteful, because people don't really think in advance, what is it there that we can change, that we can fix in order to create sustainability? And I was looking into food and agriculture, and I saw that bees are actually getting extinct. So I was putting on my engineering hat and thinking, so how come we can put a man on the moon 40, 50 years ago, and we cannot really take care of a little insect that just happens to be the most prominent pollinator for our agriculture. And I was looking into the problems, and it's like, okay, well, there are a lot of different things that we can do. We can use technology to understand the bees. We can use technology to interfere with the problems that they have. So that's how I sat down. I created a concept, and the people from Singularity liked it. So basically, I spent the summer of 2013 with 80 people from more than 35 countries, I think, just thinking about ways to positively impact the life of 1 billion people in the next 10 years. That was kind of the goal of the whole program. Everybody needed to come up with a project that can fix or can help augment the lives of 1 billion people in just 10 years. So yeah, it was a extremely interesting program. We met with top executives from Silicon Valley. We worked with a lot of professionals and engineers from NASA. I was blown away by this. It was kind of a pivotal moment for me because it almost literally broke everything that I believed in. All my limitations were gone, and I was feeling like I can really help save the world at that point.
Wow, I have goosebumps only listening to you, and I can imagine how you were feeling. So let's take this pivotal moment and go immediately after that, what happened? So what was your direction after that? What direction did you choose after that?
I don't know if you're familiar, but there is a graph that shows the motivation of young teams, and it normally goes like this. And I was there 2013 when I finished Singularity University, and then came back to Bulgaria and it was like bomb to the bottom. Why? Because I actually had put off like work and university and stuff like that to be there. So when I went back home, I needed to get this expanded brain and all the motivation and emotions and expertise and network. And I again had to go into the office building where I worked, and I had to sit down at my cubicle, and it was terrifying. So this was just 2 months. And I said, okay, so this is not going to cut it anymore. I cannot be this person anymore. I need to go out there and make the change that I dream about. So I pretty much quit work in just a few months, and I had a little bit of money on the side, and I was thinking, oh, so I if I'm very careful with the budget, I can start a company. I can start like looking for my partners, co-founders. I can start prototyping because I have a little bit of money on the side. So it's going to take me like 8 9 months, and then I'll be broke. So until I'm broke, I'm only going to work on my project with the honeybees. And in 2 months, I was completely broke. Of course, I had nothing because when you don't have a regular salary, going from a regular salary to having no payment whatsoever at the end of the month, it's pretty scary. But it also what puts you in this position of let's say outside your comfort zone where you can really excel. So this is what happened right after I quit my job. I started prototyping my ideas, and I started looking for other people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world.
So, I mean, you were pretty much without any finances. And my next question was about your main challenges. And then there is one very, very key challenge there. So, how did you overcome this? How you starting your new company, you're broke. And what were next steps? How did you move it forward?
So there is a very interesting story there. I was down to my last 100 euro, and I decided that this is a perfect way for me to totally put myself outside of the comfort zone by hosting a dinner. I invited my parents, and I told them. At that point, I'm pretty sure they were thinking, okay, he's going to ask for some money. But actually, what I did is I wanted to spend all my money and find a way for me to be really uncomfortable with that, because if I was able to go through that moment, I was going to be able to endure everything. That's what I was thinking at that point. Maybe it's a little bit different nowadays, but yeah. So the funny story is that I actually spent all my money there, and I met the very same day somebody who said, "Okay, so tell me a bit more about this idea, saving the beehive through the bees, sorry, through technological beehive through technology, basically." And I told him more about the idea. He got really hooked. He's a German guy who came to work and live in Bulgaria. So he invested in our project. He got some other angel investors on board as well. And it was, now that I think of it, it's like one of the biggest financial mistakes that I did was getting too little money too fast. But at least this is something that kicked me off at that point. And to this day, I'm in a very good relationship with those angel investors, because they really believed in the grand dream. And for them, it just started making sense. Like now it's 8 years later, and just now they started to actually have some economic sense of that investment. But I'm really glad that those guys were around, because this was really the very early days of the venture finance in Bulgaria. So
I see. So you're saying that if you have to do it again, what are you going to change?
I'm going to be much, much more bold. So bolder is the accent of everything, if I have to answer in one word, I would be much bolder. I was thinking that maybe these guys are giving me their money and I should be very, very careful with that money. I should not spend here and there. I was deliberating too much. I was not fast enough. I was not swift. And as a result, I was kind of slow. And now that I understand there's a lot more faster ways, if you are just bolder, if you are just, if you dare to provoke yourself to do unthinkable things.
So, what other challenges you had when you were setting up?
Basically, I'm very open to feedback. If I have one thing that I can say, I'm not going to be humble here, but I am very good at receiving feedback. I'm very good at working with people and with organizing teams around ideas. So I accented on that, and it was truly something that paid off. But the challenges that I had, most of the challenges are within me, within the mindset that I had, because I was not challenging myself enough. I was not too harsh on myself. I didn't want to make wrong moves. And later I found out that all the moves are wrong and right at the same time. So basically, you need to take the most out of every situation so that you can shift the wrong move to become a right move. So I was my biggest enemy, and it was because I did not act swiftly enough.
After this first financial kind of trouble, what are the steps you took and how did you manage your finances? So, for people who are listening and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to leave my career, start up a company, what are the key financial kind of steps, knowledge, tips you can share so they can avoid the pitfalls you were in?
That's a great question. Actually, money is never the problem. This is something I learned quite early, and to this day, I follow this concept. If your idea is good enough, if you iterate, if you work with your customers, if you get the feedback, if you perfect your product within a loop of constant feedback from the customers, you are going to be able to finance it. There is abundant money all around. There are VCs, there are banks, there are a lot of ways that you can finance yourself. But you should not think about that. You should think about how do you create value for the customers and how do you grow this value? How do you grow your relationship with the customer in order for you to be able to achieve more, to create sustainability in whatever process you are after? So yeah, money is everywhere. It's not a problem to get financed. If you're listening to this and you think, oh, my problem is that there's no investors, investors are working exactly this. They want to put money into good ideas. The bad thing is your idea is not good enough yet. Work on that.
If you have to create like a system for how you transition from one industry to another, what are the most important things people should do?
They should live there. They should live in that industry. They should organize as much of their time around people who are core experts in that industry. You should follow them around and you should understand their pains, because there are a lot of people working on fixing some kind of problem, but the ones that are going to be successful are not the ones that are fixing the problem right away. They need to go deep. They need to find the root of the problem, and then they need to understand who are the whole stakeholder group of that particular problem. When you know that, you kind of position yourself within the root of the problem, and then you'll be the most impactful when you start solving it. So really put your finger on the pulse of the industry that you want to affect or disrupt.
Tell us a little bit more about your company, what exactly you do, and what's your mission.
Our mission is to create sustainable beekeeping globally, and we are currently doing this in three different directions. this is not an advice to any entrepreneur out there. You should focus on one thing, but in our case, we actually work on three different fronts because ultimately they're going to get combined and they're going to create the paradigm in which we believe. So basically, it's technology, it's research, and it's education. In technology, we are one of the innovators in beekeeping. We are pushing the boundaries of what are the current limitations of how you raise and keep bees, how you interact within that system. In education and research, we are literally redefining beekeeping. We are thinking of new ways and we are engaging with academia in order to identify radically new ways of keeping bees. And then in education, I call this business innovation mostly because we are educating both the consumers and the producers of particularly honey, and this is bringing a lot of innovation into the business world. So if I can elaborate on that a little bit, in business innovation, this is exactly what pays the bills around our company right now. We have this concept of adopt a beehive. So probably everybody has heard about that, but we decided that we are going to make it into a scalable business model, which actually is a holistic one. So basically, it needs to be win-win-win business model, and this is achieved by the following two things: transparency and traceability. I was talking about how important it is to understand your customers. And when we were thinking about this project and trying to understand what is our minimum viable product, we were interviewing a lot of people. And what we wanted to solve is the current problem in Bulgaria, which was beekeepers are getting extinct. Everybody has heard about bees getting extinct. In Bulgaria, for the last 2 years, we lost 30% of all the beekeepers. And that's really alarming. So we decided, let's talk to all the beekeepers and all the honey consumers that we can, and then let's let's think about the solution for those two groups. And it was the adopt a beehive. Through transparency and traceability, we were able to offer honey from the beehive directly to the table of the consumer. And it turns out that the consumer is actually looking for this kind of superfood that can substitute sugar, that is actually good for them. That is also a way for them to support the ecosystem and the indigenous craft of beekeeping, because in Bulgaria, this is exactly what it is. It's now almost indigenous. So the beekeepers, they had this really big trouble that their product, the product that they're producing, is not paid fairly. So red flag number one. So those guys are giving up because they don't get enough money. Okay, so let's sell their product directly to the people. But the people had another problem. They don't believe that the honey is genuine, because honey is the third most counterfeited food in the world. When we established this layer of trust using technology, which is our platform at polenity.com, you can actually go and find your beekeeper, like a certain beekeeper because of her honey, for example, or because of the region where she lives, and you can subscribe to that honey. We are going to be the only middleman in that whole chain who is going to get the honey from the producer. We're going to pay as much as we possibly can, not as little as we can get away with. And then we're going to deliver the honey intact, like 100% original genuine honey, directly to the footstep of the customer. And we're going to do this at a very high price. So actually, it's a very interesting concept. Nobody wants to pay more. Nobody, that makes us bad business people, right? Because we buy high and we try to sell even higher. But when you tell the whole story, when you accent on the genuinity of the product, when you accent on what exactly are you achieving with buying this honey, when you see that the money is going directly to the producer, when you see that we're actually caring for the bees, for the sustainability of the whole sector, it kind of makes sense. it kind of makes sense to substitute sugar with honey. And when you see that it doesn't really cost all that much, you can substitute vitamins even. It really made sense. So for just 2 years, our company became the biggest retailer of honey in Bulgaria, and we are extremely happy about that.
Oh, great! Congratulations. When we started the podcast, I thought we are going to talk about mostly about career change, etc. But I am really fascinated by the story and so interested in bees because when I was small, my grandparents, they used to have beehives, and I remember the honey. I remember going to the mountains where the beehives are, and I used to have honey from the beehives itself, right? So for me, honey is an existential food which I have to have all the time. So now you're speaking about this, it just brings back memory, and I can't agree more with what you're doing. We had a fascinating discussion, really interesting. But we are at the end of the podcast. So I wanted to ask you, and I ask every guest, to summarize the 3 key takeaways for the listeners and those who want to change their careers in whatever way, changing industry or moving from one job to another in the same industry. What are the 3 things that you think are most important and people should think about these before they decide and make the change?
Okay, so that's a wonderful question. Time and time again, I have understood, that there are 2 very important aspects of every successful entrepreneur. They apply critical thinking, so nothing is true before you actually make it true, and they are very swift. They are able to receive feedback. They're able to iterate based on that feedback, and they're going to be better just because of this. But probably the most important thing that I have learned, and I am absolutely sure that this is true, is that good change or positive change takes time. It's impossible to make radical positive change like that. Only bad things happen like that. For the positive impact, you have to fight, you have to be diligent, you have to be very motivated to get it. And sometimes it's going to seem impossible, but you need to spend the hours and you need to plan ahead, plan out your milestones, and just know that it's going to take a lot of time.
Now, that's a great ending for the podcast. Thank you so much for this discussion. And I wish you and the company absolutely all the best.
Thank you for the warm invitation. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Please remember to review, rate, and subscribe when you have a chance. You can do that on your favorite podcast platform or go to our site, changeispossible.site. Thank you once again and have a great day.